Every morning is a new chance, a quiet invitation to begin again, before the noise of the world finds you, before the screens light up and messages start pouring in. There's a sacred silence waiting for you. And in that silence, your soul whispers, don't forget why you woke up today. When you open your eyes, take a deep breath and start with gratitude. Whisper a thank you not just with your lips, but with your heart. The first breath you take after waking up isn't random, it's a blessing. When you start your day by acknowledging what you already have, you stop chasing what you don't. Gratitude softens your heart and reminds you that peace isn't found in more, it's found in enough. Before the world touches you, let water touch your skin. Let that cool touch remind you that you've been given another chance. Wash away yesterday's heaviness, the regret that lingered, the mistakes that still echo. You're not defined by what you did, you're shaped by what you choose to do next. Every drop that falls is a reminder that renewal is always possible. In the quiet of the morning, whisper words that heal your soul. Let your tongue remember what your heart already knows. It doesn't have to be loud or long, just honest. A phrase, a prayer, a verse, something that connects you to what's eternal. Those words will protect your peace throughout the day. They're not just sounds, they're shields, invisible yet powerful. Before the rush begins, offer kindness to the world, smile at someone, send a message of love, feed a stray, help without being asked. Sometimes the smallest act done early in the day becomes someone else's reason to keep going. Kindness doesn't deplete you, it multiplies, and a heart that gives freely never feels empty. Then just sit. No phone, no noise, just you and your breath. Feel how alive you are. Ask yourself quietly, what do I want this day to mean? The one who begins their morning with intention doesn't drift through the hours, they walk with purpose. And purpose is what fills your life with meaning even in silence. These acts may seem small, but together they turn an ordinary morning into something sacred. When you wake with gratitude, cleanse your heart, speak remembrance, show kindness, and live with purpose, you don't just start your day right, you start your soul right. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, don't rush into the world. Pause, breathe, begin beautifully. Every morning is a spiritual restart, a quiet reminder that life always gives you another chance to begin again. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter what broke your heart, or what mistakes you made, the morning doesn't ask questions. It just arrives, softly, faithfully, like a whisper of mercy. It paints the sky with light again, as if to say, here, start over, try again. There's something deeply sacred about that moment right after you wake up. The world is still silent, the air feels gentler, and your thoughts haven't yet been clouded by the noise of the day. That small window of stillness holds a kind of magic, a space where your soul can breathe freely before the rush begins. It's a pause between what was and what could be. When you open your eyes, it's not just your body that wakes up, your soul does too. You might feel the weight of things you can't control, or the ache of something unfinished, but the morning is a reminder that you're not meant to stay stuck there. It's an invitation to shift your energy from guilt to gratitude, from exhaustion to renewal, from surviving to living. The beauty of mornings lies in their honesty. They don't hide behind distractions or noise. They meet you just as you are, unfiltered, vulnerable, real. Maybe that's why they carry so much peace. You don't have to pretend in the morning, you don't have to perform, you simply exist, and sometimes that's enough. A spiritual restart doesn't mean you erase everything that's happened. It means you see it differently. You stop replaying what hurt you and start learning from it. You forgive yourself for not being perfect. You let the new light remind you that growth takes time, and that even when you feel behind, you're still moving forward in ways your eyes can't yet see. Every sunrise is a lesson in hope. Yesterday's darkness didn't last forever, and neither will today's struggles. No matter how heavy the night felt, the light still found its way back to you. That alone is proof that renewal is always possible. Sometimes all you need is a single breath of morning air to remind you that you're still here, and that being here means you still have purpose. When you treat the morning as a sacred moment, you begin to notice things differently. The warmth of sunlight on your face feels like a blessing. The sound of birds becomes a form of remembrance. Even the act of getting out of bed feels like a small act of courage. Every movement becomes intentional, every breath becomes gratitude. It's easy to rush past that, to grab your phone, check notifications, drown in noise before you even remember to breathe. But when you slow down, you realize how precious this time truly is. You understand that peace doesn't come from external calm, it comes from internal clarity. And mornings give you that space to reset, to clear your heart, to reconnect with what truly matters. This restart isn't about perfection. It's about presence. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to know where life is taking you. You just need to show up gently, honestly, faithfully. Because showing up every morning, despite the weight you carry, is its own kind of prayer. It's saying, I'm still here, I still believe something good can come out of today. There's a quiet strength in that kind of faith, the kind that doesn't shout, but simply breathes and trusts. Mornings teach us to trust. The same way the sky trusts the sun to rise, you're asked to trust that your light will return too. And so, every morning, you're offered this beautiful, sacred gift, the chance to realign your heart. To release what's done, to forgive what hurt, to choose peace over chaos. It's not a grand moment, it's a soft one. It happens in silence, in stillness, in those few quiet seconds when you decide that no matter what comes next, you'll start with gratitude. Every morning is a spiritual restart, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because your soul remembers it can begin again, again, and again. Gratitude is the first act of the soul. It's the quiet whisper that greets the dawn, the soft acknowledgement that you've been given another day, another chance to breathe, to love, to grow, to begin again. You may not have everything you want, but the fact that you woke up today means you still have something precious, life itself. And life, in its simplest form, is a gift that's easy to forget until you pause long enough to feel it. When your eyes open in the morning, before you reach for your phone or rush into routine, there's a sacred moment where you can choose how to start your day. You can choose to focus on what's missing, or you can choose to thank for what's already there. That single choice, that single shift in awareness changes everything. Gratitude doesn't require wealth, success, or comfort. It only requires presence. It's the art of noticing what most people overlook. The truth is, gratitude softens even the hardest heart. It doesn't deny your pain or pretend that life is perfect. It simply reminds you that even within the chaos, there is still something worth holding on to. You can have sadness and still be grateful. You can feel uncertain and still say thank you. Gratitude isn't about ignoring your struggles. It's about remembering that blessings and burdens can coexist. One doesn't cancel the other, they teach you balance. When you begin your day with gratitude, you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance. You stop measuring your life by what's missing and start noticing what's quietly holding you together. Maybe it's the roof over your head, the meal waiting for you, the people who love you, or even the ability to stand on your own 2 feet. These small, often invisible gifts form the foundation of peace. Gratitude opens your eyes to see them again. Sometimes the greatest prayer isn't made of words, it's made of awareness. That moment when you inhale deeply and realize, I'm alive. That pause when you feel the morning air on your face and think, I'm still here. That quiet recognition that, despite your flaws, despite your worries, you've been given one more sunrise to try again. That's gratitude in its purest form, not spoken, but felt. It's also an anchor when the world feels uncertain. Life will always bring things you can't control, but gratitude brings stability to your heart. It's a reminder that peace isn't the absence of problems, it's the presence of perspective. When you start your morning with thankfulness, you train your mind to seek light even in dark places. You become less reactive, more patient, more grounded. Gratitude also humbles you. It reminds you that everything you have, every breath, every opportunity, every heartbeat is borrowed time. You realize that nothing is truly yours to keep, and that makes you cherish it more deeply. When you understand this, entitlement fades and appreciation grows. You stop asking, why don't I have more? And start whispering, how could I ever deserve this much? Even science echoes this truth that gratitude changes your chemistry, your mood, your outlook. But beyond science, there's a spiritual rhythm to it. Every thankful heart beats in harmony with peace. Every grateful thought is a quiet form of remembrance, a moment where the soul bows, even if the body doesn't. And here's the beautiful part: gratitude multiplies. The more you practice it, the more reasons you find to keep practicing. The more you say thank you, the more your eyes open to the subtle gifts woven into your day. The laughter of a loved one, the silence that heals, the forgiveness that frees, the warmth of sunlight through your window. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances, it changes you. When you start your morning with gratitude, you start your soul with light. You begin the day not by asking for more, but by appreciating what already is. And that small shift transforms how you move through the hours ahead. Challenges still come, but they don't feel as heavy. Disappointments still happen, but they don't break you as easily. Gratitude becomes the lens through which you see the world softer, calmer, truer. So before you begin your day, take a moment, sit in the stillness of morning and whisper from your heart, "Thank you for the chance to wake up, to try again, to feel, to be." Because gratitude isn't just the first act of the soul, it's the act that keeps your soul alive. Cleansing renews more than the body. It's one of those quiet, unseen acts that look so simple on the outside: water touching skin, droplets sliding over your hands, your face, your arms, yet it carries something far deeper than routine. It's not just about removing dust or dirt, it's about releasing the weight you can't see, the kind of heaviness that doesn't cling to your skin but to your soul. Every morning when you wash yourself, you're not just preparing for the day, you're giving yourself a moment to begin again. That first touch of water is a reminder that life can always be refreshed. Just as water flows and never clings, you too are meant to let things pass, not hold them until they harden into pain. The droplets that fall from your hands carry away more than what's physical. They take pieces of worry, regret, and self-blame with them. There's something deeply symbolic about cleansing. It's the meeting point between the outer and inner worlds. The water that cools your skin also calms your spirit. It slows you down, draws you into the present moment. You're no longer rushing, you're simply being. That's when you start to notice the rhythm of it, the way it soothes, the way it grounds you. In that small ritual, you are reminded that purity isn't just about cleanliness, it's about clarity. We often underestimate what renewal really means. It isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it's silent, a quiet recommitment to peace. It's when you choose to leave behind the mental clutter that keeps you heavy. Every drop of water reminds you, you don't have to carry yesterday into today. Think about how refreshing it feels to wash your face after tears. There's that slight sting at first, cold water meeting warmth, but then it soothes you. It's almost as if your body understands what your heart can't put into words. That healing often begins with release. You cannot pour new energy into a vessel already full of sorrow. Cleansing makes space for what's next. Sometimes when you stand before the mirror afterward, there's a small difference, not in how you look, but in how you feel. The reflection staring back at you isn't just cleaner, it's calmer. Because renewal isn't a change in appearance, it's a change in energy. You feel lighter, softer, more open to peace. And that is something no one else can see, but you can feel it deeply. In a world that teaches you to hurry, cleansing slows you down. It teaches patience. You can't rush through it. You have to move with intention. Each motion, washing your hands, rinsing your face, becomes a prayer without words. It says, I am ready to start again. I am ready to release what no longer serves me. And perhaps in that quiet act you also learn self-respect, because to cleanse yourself with care is to honor yourself. It's saying that your body, your mind, and your soul deserve attention. It's recognizing that you are worth the effort of renewal, even on the days you feel broken, tired, or unworthy, especially on those days. Water has always been a symbol of purity for a reason. It adapts, it flows, it gives life. It doesn't resist. It moves around obstacles and continues on its way. When you let water touch your skin, you borrow a bit of that nature. You learn to flow instead of fight. You learn that purity isn't about being flawless, it's about being willing to begin again after being stained by life. And that's the beauty of cleansing. It reminds you that no matter how much the world dirties your peace, you can always return to stillness. Every morning gives you that moment of personal renewal, a silent washing away of everything heavy. And when you finish, when you take that deep breath, when you feel the coolness settle on your skin, you realize something profound. You are lighter not because the world changed, but because you did. Cleansing renews more than the body, it renews the heart, the mind, and the spirit. It prepares you not just to face the day, but to face yourself with gentleness, forgiveness, and faith in new beginnings. Whisper words that heal your soul, because sometimes the softest words, the ones said quietly in the stillness of dawn, carry more power than the loudest shouts of the day. When the world is still half asleep and your heart is just beginning to wake, there is a sacred silence that seems to listen. That is the perfect time to speak not to others, but to yourself, to your soul that's been waiting all night for your attention. There's something deeply personal about the early morning. It's when everything feels untouched, the sky, the air, even your thoughts. The chaos hasn't started yet, and for a few precious moments, you can hear yourself clearly. And in that quiet, your words, even the smallest ones, hold incredible power. A whispered prayer, a verse that feels like comfort, a few lines that remind you who you are. These are not just sounds. They are medicine. Sometimes healing doesn't come through answers, it comes through remembrance. It comes through those quiet words that pull you back toward peace. The heart, when left unspoken to, begins to feel empty. It starts to wander in confusion, searching for meaning in noise, approval, or distraction. But the moment you turn inward, when you speak words of truth, faith, or gratitude, something begins to shift. The restlessness calms, the chaos fades, you return home to yourself. It doesn't matter if your voice trembles. It doesn't matter if your heart still feels heavy. What matters is that you speak, that you whisper words that remind you of light, even when you're standing in darkness. Maybe your whisper is a simple thank you. Maybe it's a help me. Maybe it's a verse that you don't just recite, you feel. What matters is that it's real, that it comes from a place of sincerity, not habit. There's something sacred about honesty in prayer, not just in what you say, but in how you say it. You don't need to sound perfect. You don't need long rehearsed words. You only need to be genuine. The soul doesn't respond to eloquence. It responds to truth. And when you speak from that place, that raw, unfiltered part of you, your words begin to heal you from within. In those moments, you're not trying to fix life. You're not begging for things to change. You're simply remembering that you're being watched, guided, and loved even when you can't see it. Whispering words of faith isn't about control, it's about surrender. It's about admitting that you can't carry everything alone and that it's okay not to. Some mornings you might not have the strength to say much. That's okay too. Healing doesn't always need noise. Sometimes it's just the silence between your breaths when your heart says what your lips cannot. And even that silence is heard. When you start your day with such whispers, you carry their peace with you. You find yourself reacting differently, calmer, softer, less shaken by the world, because those words spoken in solitude become shields in the noise. They remind you who you are when the day tries to make you forget. The heart is like a garden. If you don't plant beautiful words in it each morning, weeds of negativity begin to grow. But when you water it with remembrance, reflection, and sincerity, it blooms quietly even in seasons of difficulty. And that's what whispering to your soul does. It cultivates inner beauty, the kind no one sees but everyone feels. There's also a rhythm to it, a heartbeat between the pauses. Whispering truth, even softly, rewrites your inner language. You start to replace fear with faith, doubt with trust, and sadness with serenity. You begin to see that your words don't just describe your world, they shape it. The morning is gentle for a reason. It gives you a moment to speak softly before the world becomes loud again. It gives you a chance to anchor yourself before life's waves start to rise. So when you whisper in those early hours, let it be real, let it be healing, let it remind you that your voice, even if no one else hears it, matters. Because healing doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it begins with the smallest sound, your own whisper, trembling yet true, rising from the quiet places of your soul. And maybe that's all you need to face the day, not noise, not certainty, but a few soft words that remind you that peace still lives within you. give a moment of kindness, because sometimes the smallest gesture, the one that takes just a second, can echo for an entire lifetime. The truth is, you never really know what battle someone else is fighting. You can't always see the loneliness behind a smile or the exhaustion behind a calm face, but kindness has a way of touching what's hidden. It speaks to the parts of a person that words can't reach. When you wake up in the morning and the world is still quiet, that's the perfect time to remind yourself, today I can be a reason someone breathes easier. It doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to fix anyone's life or perform miracles. Sometimes all it takes is a smile that says I see you, a kind word that says you matter, or a helping hand that says you're not alone. Kindness is not weakness. It's quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need recognition, the kind that gives because it understands how it feels to need. When you act kindly, even in small ways, you align yourself with peace. Your heart expands. Your burdens feel lighter because giving doesn't just bless the receiver, it heals the giver too. There's something sacred about doing good when no one is watching. Maybe you feed a stray cat, or pick up something someone dropped, or send a message to check on a friend who's been distant. You might think it's small, but sometimes that moment becomes someone's reminder that goodness still exists. You never truly know what a person carries. One gentle word can be the difference between despair and hope. The beauty of kindness is that it doesn't ask for perfection. You don't have to be wealthy, powerful, or confident to be kind. You just have to be present. You have to care enough to notice when someone needs gentleness, including yourself. Because kindness isn't only what you give to others, it's also what you allow yourself to receive. There will be mornings when your own heart feels heavy, when you don't have the energy to give much. And that's okay. Kindness doesn't always mean smiling through pain. Sometimes it means speaking gently to yourself, forgiving yourself, allowing rest. Kindness is not selfish, it's necessary. You can't pour light from an empty heart. The softer you are with yourself, the more genuine your kindness becomes with others, and when you do give without measuring, without asking, will they appreciate it, or will I get anything back? The purest form of kindness is free of expectation. It's giving because it feels right, not because it will be noticed. True kindness is invisible, it lives in the unseen, the unrecorded, the unpraised moments that only your heart remembers. Sometimes, one small act can change your entire day. You offer kindness thinking you're helping someone else, but in reality, it's your own soul that softens. That's the quiet secret of compassion. It creates a circle. The goodness you send out always finds its way back, sometimes in unexpected ways. In a world that often feels harsh, being kind is a form of courage. It's easy to mirror anger with anger, or coldness with silence, but to respond with warmth, with empathy, that takes strength. It means you've chosen to rise above your ego, to see with your heart instead of your pride. Every time you choose kindness over judgment, love over bitterness, you win a small victory against the darkness of this world. Even a smile can be charity, a moment of patience can be a gift. Listening without interrupting, forgiving when you could have held a grudge, these are not small things. They are quiet revolutions of the heart. They bring light where there was none. They remind you that even in a world of noise, goodness still speaks softly, and that softness can change everything. Kindness doesn't demand big gestures. It starts in small ways: a glance of understanding, a word of comfort, a moment of care. These tiny sparks create ripples that travel farther than you'll ever see. You might forget them, but someone else won't. So each morning, before you step into the day, make a silent promise to yourself. Today, I will choose to be kind. Not because the world always deserves it, but because your soul does. Because the act of giving kindness even once, even quietly, brings you closer to peace. And when you lie down at night, replaying the day in your mind, you'll realize something: every small kindness you gave returned to you in some form of calmness. You may not have changed the world, but you did change someone's moment. And sometimes that's more than enough. When the morning light softens the edges of the night, and the world is still quiet enough to hear your own breath, there lies a sacred invitation to pause, to be still, and to remember why you're here. Life has a way of pulling you into motion before you even realize it. You wake up, check your phone, scroll through endless noise, and before long, your heart feels heavy, not because something bad happened, but because you forgot to be present. You forgot to start with stillness. Sitting in silence isn't about doing nothing, it's about coming home to yourself. It's the moment where you stop running after what's next and simply exist, not as someone chasing a goal, fixing a mistake, or proving something, but as a soul breathing in the mercy of another new day. When you let the world fade for a few minutes and sit quietly, you begin to feel life differently. You notice the gentle rhythm of your heartbeat, the whisper of air in your lungs, and the warmth of light that slowly fills your room. That quiet space where your thoughts soften and your heart opens is where peace lives. In that silence, you realize how much noise you carry inside. The constant planning, the worrying, the endless what-ifs. But when you stop, even for a moment, it's like watching dust settle in sunlight. Everything becomes clearer. You start to see that not everything needs your control, your reaction, or your rush. Sometimes what your soul truly needs is space to breathe, to reflect, to remember what really matters. Stillness has a way of awakening the truth buried beneath the noise. It reminds you that life isn't just about surviving, it's about becoming aware. It's about seeing the beauty in what already is, not just what's missing. It's about realizing that your worth isn't tied to how much you accomplish before breakfast, but how deeply you connect to the purpose behind every breath you take. And when you remember your purpose, the day unfolds differently. You no longer wake up just to get things done. You wake up with intention to live with gentleness, to serve, to forgive, to love. The smallest tasks, making tea, greeting someone, or walking outside, start to feel sacred because you're not just moving through them, you're present in them. You're aware that every action, no matter how small, can be an act of meaning when it's done from a place of peace. Stillness also teaches humility. When you sit in quiet, you begin to understand how vast life truly is, how tiny we are in this endless creation, and yet how deeply we matter. It reminds you that your struggles, your ambitions, your fears, they all exist within something far greater than yourself. And somehow that realization doesn't make you feel smaller, it makes you feel safe. Because you realize that you don't have to carry everything, you don't have to know everything, you just have to be and trust that there's a purpose in your being. The world often celebrates those who hustle, who chase, who never stop. But there's a quiet kind of strength in those who pause, those who take a breath before reacting, who choose reflection over noise, who wake up early not to rush, but to sit in stillness and reconnect with their soul. These are the ones who live with depth, who walk through life aware, intentional, and full of peace. Stillness isn't about escaping the world, it's about learning to move through it with balance. It gives you clarity to see what deserves your energy and what doesn't. It helps you respond to life, not from panic, but from wisdom, and in that clarity, life starts to feel lighter. You begin to carry peace instead of pressure, gratitude instead of restlessness. So tomorrow morning, before the day begins to demand from you, sit still. Let the silence speak. Feel the air touch your skin, the quiet hum of life awakening around you. Breathe slowly, and as you do, remind yourself you're here for a reason, not just to exist, but to live with awareness. Not just to chase, but to be. Because when you begin your morning in stillness, you don't just prepare your body for the day, you prepare your soul. You anchor yourself in purpose before the world tries to pull you away. And that quiet, sacred moment of remembering why you're here can transform not just your morning, but your entire life.